just encouraging you to like, share, rate, subscribe this podcast. As always, I want to thank you guys for just taking the time out of your busy day to just get started with us. So, as we're getting ready to progress into a new episode, I do also want to say it's just about football season. You can sense it in the air. Things are changing. It's the month of August, which for me is fresh off the Olympics. Got a chance to see Simone Biles. And just her dominance and her excellence and seeing what she's done has got me excited for the year. But man, it's just something about the sound of knowing football season is upon us. I get a chance yet again to root for my San Francisco 49ers. That's always a blessing. If you hear any ambient background noise, that's because I am out this morning on a walk, just trying to get my day started, which I'll talk about later. But there's a little bit of construction going on this morning, but I wanted to come out here and record my podcast this morning because I just wanted that sense of feel of nature, environment, and I wanted just a connection to the world around me. But with that said, again, guys, welcome in to today's episode of the End Zone Club podcast, where we have conversations that are wrapped around things we know now we wish we knew when we were younger. Today's episode will probably be, hopefully, one of a shorter note, as I am trying to time myself to get my divulging a little bit personal information. In my family, I am always the guy that's done a little research to know where I come from, who we are, just those sorts of things. In my research, I started turning up a little information in my family health history that was a little alarming. I started turning up a little history. That research on my family was a little alarming. And what I mean, I started noticing that at certain ages, men in my family started developing certain attributes that were attributed, that were linked to poor lifestyle choices. So as I've gotten older, I realized I too have the propensity of being exposed to the same thing. Instead of walking down the same path that some others have, take a more proactive response. I'm not trying to be reactive. I'm not trying to wait till the bad prognosis from the doctor saying, Mr. Mitchell, this is what you're dealing with. No, I'm trying to go ahead and jump ahead of the curve. But in like fashion, I had found myself well over the scale of just being plus size, not just for the military, but for my height, my age. And I realized, man, you gotta do something about this, brother, because you're slightly at risk for some other predetermined. So I started doing that research, started digging in a little bit, started taking a look at some things that I could do differently. And for the time leading into my deployment, I wanted to do was use the time to get strong. What I mean by getting strong, I wanted to COVID. I started losing weight. I lost probably in essence of about 30 pounds. For me, is, I'll binge. My weight has always fluctuated a little bit. Within losing weight, I started finding myself getting weaker. So as I'm getting older, I'm trying to learn this word called adaptation. Trying to adapt what I'm doing to finding out, or basically getting information that I found like will make me better. If I've been through this kick before and I realize that as I'm losing weight, I'm getting weaker, now I'm trying to adapt my program. I'm not experiencing those same kinds of uh, just that same experience. So that's why I elected to start lifting weights first, getting stronger, and then going into intermittent fasting. Now, beginning next week, I'm going to break up my intermittent fasting and I'm going to do, instead of a 16-hour window, I'm going to probably do a 10 or 12-hour window. And then I'm going to start just eating nothing but fruits and vegetables for about 2 weeks, just to reset my palate, reset my diet, and just to engage in detox. But one of the reasons I wanted to have that conversation is not to body shame anybody that might be struggling physically, but sometimes just to encourage you guys with the underlying note. Sometimes we have to mix it up. In this sector that I'm in, as a visual and creative artist, someone that draws, someone that podcasts, someone that organizes community events, one tip I would like to draw from that canvas and just basically transpose it on yours is that in order to be successful, and really not even just this, but anything you do, sometimes you have to be humble enough to realize that some things we do work, other things we do don't work. Instead of always highlighting things that I do well, sometimes it's great to look at things I don't do well and start thinking, what can I do to adapt that? Sometimes you have to have honest conversations with yourself or with your friends or with some people that you can ping ideas off of. You have to ask, what am I doing wrong? What are some ideas you've got that I could do better? I was, just to kind of tell off a little bit, I'm a big Android guy. I love Samsungs, right? And I'm getting ready, Lord to say this. Saints used to say, I'm getting ready to get me a new Samsung. But once upon a time, I used to work at a company that gave us iPads to use, so I had to create an Apple account to use the iPad. Somehow, to that account, it goes back some 12 to 15 years back. Again, I was working at a community back then. There was some work that I was doing, some back to school summer bashes, some job career fairs and things, a lot of emails that were sent out, a lot of print ads, different things that I was doing, trying to garner just to look not only success, of course, but just to get some support, to create networking capabilities, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm an avid writer, love writing, and that's something I was more engaged with then because I wanted to be an author. But I would sit down, I would take out time to write these emails out, real nice and neat. I'd find templates online that I could now copy and paste what I'd written into a nice, pretty format. And I'd include pictures or sometimes videos from other things we've done, just trying to, again, keep whatever momentum I might have developed on my last event, keep it moving forward. Thought I was doing a great job. Well, here it is now that I've gotten reconnected with an Apple account because I use an iPad to draw and I had to tap back into the account, log into it, and it started restoring all of these emails and all of these things. As I'm reading through some of this, I'm like, this is good, that is great. But now I probably have enough emotional intelligence to look at some things I've done and say, that wasn't the best. It wasn't the greatest. You could have done a little more right here and less right there. You could have maybe taken all of this 5 paragraphs that you sent to somebody and turned it into one. But these are things, again, that as we get older, we start looking at areas we're not getting success at, or we're not having the growth rate that we desire. Sometimes you got to just be honest and start approaching things differently. Now, again, I've talked about this before, but 30 plus years ago when I started drawing, when I discovered that this was something that I actually got a little pleasure out of, and it's not something I got used to give me a number 2 pencil. As I got a little money, give me a good mechanical pencil. I was leaving a lot on the table because as an artist, there are so many other mediums outside of just pencil and paper for drawing. And that's why, fast forward, getting the iPad, I wanted to begin to progress my talent beyond just the traditional means. And as I started, I got connected with the digital art form anyway. I got connected with an artistic group on social media where they encourage you to post your artwork, which will give you confidence, which will allow you to be critiqued by your peers, as well as you're posting yours on whatever level you're at. You're seeing people that aren't as good as you, but then you're seeing people who are way better than you. So with that medium, it gives you something to reach for. So just going on from there, I remember I posted my first piece of digital art, and immediately a guy reaches out to me again. As a traditional artist, all I ever had was pencil and paper, and I used my digital art form just like a traditional canvas. So the young man reaches out. He starts to tell me, "Hey, I think this is great, but what you're lacking are brushes." I'm not knowing what a brush is. Not the digital platform. I don't know what a brush is. I don't know how to find a good pencil. I'm figuring out how to change colors, but I didn't know that with your digital art, you could get a paintbrush, you have a 6B pencil, you could have an HB pencil, which all that is referencing is art. Dark, you get dark shade. I'm like, it's a little change transparency where they're going way dark than what I'm used to dealing with. And why that's important is because as you're learning how to work within your craft and you start learning to use the various tools that exist, you'll find out you can provide more depth to your life gift if you learn the tools that is at your disposal to the full capability. So I would take the same drawings that I had drawn before. I started getting this idea. Well, you know what? I can scan it or take a picture with the iPad. Transfer the platform like Procreate. Well, that's the one I love for advertisement. And then and then people started teaching me, well, don't just draw it on one piece of paper. You used to do create layers. With creating layers, you can, if, for example, if you're drawing a man on just one layer alone, you can create his hair. Next layer, you can do his face. Next layer, you can do his eyes and his nose. And none of that seemed to make sense until somebody gave me a demonstration just drawing realistically a character layers, and then they just took a color for each layer and they touched that item and instantly colored it in. Like, oh my gosh, in 5 minutes, you just did what it would take me 3 hours to do. Increase my efficiency. Those are things that, again, I like to encourage you guys to look at. There are a lot of platforms that are at our hands. Things that yes, I've got boys that are a lot more technologically myself that even started turning me on to some AI. I said, and efficiency. Using to help you write a clearer message. Just this morning, before I started working on this episode, I went through the bio of this page, copied and pasted. I gave my platform a command to rewrite,